Hey everyone, this is Julie Sakura, the Contemplative Knitter, back for another episode. So let me just start out by saying I finished the sweater that I was working on from the Shades of Winter book. And it was from my stash, and my stash is all whips. It's projects that I've started in the heat of the moment and then kind of lost some steam, and I have a lot of them. So I decided to pick this one up because it was on size 10, 10 and a half needles, like the Magnolia Bloom that I showed you last time. And I thought, well, it'll be easy to get it up and finished. And when I picked up the whip, the back was done. Now, the interesting thing about starting a whip that's been laying dormant for several years is I couldn't find a gauge swatch, but the back looked like, oh, pretty good. I always worry about things being too small. Well, I have to say, this turned out to be a little bit of a train wreck. Now, usually you see podcasters and they're just loving what they made, but it's not that I don't love it, it's just that it's a little bit of a train wreck. So, my row gauge, way off, way off. And when I went to block the pieces, oh boy. I looked at the schematic and I was squishing it together to try to get it to shrink a little bit, and it just turned out rather large. So if I will show you the picture in the book where the lovely model has this on, and it's so kind of up around her neck, and she looks so cozy. I mean, there she is, right? So mine more like a V-neck, which is fine. I mean, that looks nice on with a. Oops, I don't have this top button done up. So I chose some wooden buttons that are, long, which I thought was kind of cool. So it's big. It's the only way. The sleeves are kind of big. They're long. But you know what? It's super cozy. Hopefully you can see a little bit of the back. It's super cozy, and I'm thinking that I might use it as a bed jacket. So in the morning when I first get up and just put this on, and I could have my coffee in bed without being freezing. So I like it. It's something I'll probably just wear around the house like as a bed jacket. But I learned something very valuable in terms of when you take an old project out that maybe you should look at it a little bit. So, and see if you are in the right gauge. And you know how you have that nagging feeling that something's wrong? So when I started the sleeves and I had to do some increases, and it said do it every 10 rows, and I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be done before I can get through 40 rows of increases or whatever it was. So that's when I realized, okay, I may have a problem. But I tend to ignore that little voice in my head when I should really be paying attention, because every time I hear that voice, it's correct. And the other part of me that just wants to get it done went into production instead of enjoying the process, ignores that little voice. So, big time lesson learned, because I have a lot more whips to be working on. But we'll get to that. I did have some success. I finished one of my diamond duality socks, um, and I'm very happy with that. Well, there is one little issue. So I got some sock blockers. I've never had them before, and I got them from this wonderful woman in Poland. I ordered them on Etsy. I didn't realize I was ordering from Poland, and I had my name put on them because I thought that was kind of cool. But the sock blocker was not big enough to have the whole sock on it, because they're kind of tall. They're more like a knee sock. So here's another situation where I didn't pay attention to the little voice. So I started with size 1 up here. And then when you get to the color work, it says, okay, size 2. So I did the size 2 needles. Well, I told you last time I was a little worried about it was going to be too small. but I measured it against some socks that I had, and the width looked about the same, although I didn't really take into account whether or not they'd stretch. So I kept going, and then it says to go back to size 1 when you get to this part where it's just one color. Um, but I didn't do that because I thought, oh, it's going to be too small, so I'm going to stay in size 2. So I think this part is too big. This is a little small. I mean, it will go on my leg, and I have pictures on Instagram to prove that it goes on my leg. But to get my heel through this part takes some effort. And then the toe, so I did from the cuff down all in size 2. So on the second sock, I'm going to go to back to size 1 on this, and I'll probably do size 3 on the color work. So that's kind of what's happening there. I made this with the Swanky sock from Magpie Fibers, and Empty Night is the blue, and the gold is Tupelo Honey. It's Swanky sock. It's an 80% merino and 10%, oh, 10% nylon. So there it is. And, it's nice and soft. And I really like them. I think they're really kind of cool. And I haven't made socks in years. And so I did turn the heel and do the gusset thing, which isn't that hard, especially with all the beautiful YouTubes out there helping with that. And then my last finished object is something I wasn't really planning on making, but I was cleaning out the closet full of mittens and stuff like that, and I found this fingerless mitt. Oh, it's just super soft, and I remember making it, and I really, really liked them, so I wore them all the time. Well, I can't find the other one, and I'm really disappointed. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do about that? So I looked through my stash, and I actually had a single skein of yarn that wasn't committed to a project, which is very rare for me. I rarely buy just a single skein of yarn. So perhaps it was a gift, I'm not really sure. And what it was, it was a sport weight and from Imperial Yarns, and it's called Denali, and the color is natural. So I found this pattern called the coin lace mitten pattern, and it's on Ravelry. And so I decided to use this Denali sport weight yarn to do it. The reason I really wanted to do fingerless mitts was because I have some tendonitis, I think, going on when I knit, and so I like to keep my wrists warm. And we live in an old 100-year-old house, and it's very drafty, and so I thought, well, I'll do some fingerless gloves. So I took this Denali yarn, which is it's a wool alpaca blend, 50% wool, 50% alpaca. And I made these fingerless gloves, and I made them longer. So you can make them as long as you want. So you put however many repeats you want to do, and then you start the thumb gusset. And so I made it longer, and I love how they look, and they fit perfectly. And I used a size 3. I used double pointed needles, size 3 double pointed needles to make them, and I love them. The only thing I worry about is the color, so they're probably going to get dirty, but I guess you can wash wool, and why not? And I've come to a point in my life where you got to wear things. I'm using good china and good silver every day because none of my kids want the good china or the good silver. I can't believe they don't want the silver, but hey, I might as well use it, right? So I am. Every day I'm eating on sterling. My grandmother's sterling. So who knows? Maybe one of the grandkids will want the sterling silver. But bottom line is my philosophy is don't save it. Use it. Enjoy it. I mean, that's what it's for. So now that I've gotten all of that done, and again, I learned a valuable lesson with my little winter Cardi, I had to sort of reevaluate, okay, what am I going to do next? And so I wanted to explain a little bit about how I'm dealing with my works in progress since I have so many of them. I was watching a YouTube program. The guy's name is Eric, and he is in Canada. And I'm not sure if he's in Toronto, Montreal. He's in a city in Canada. He's a great knitter. And he did a whole YouTube on organizing your works in progress. So after he did that, he created a spreadsheet. Now, I'm not a spreadsheet fan, but I know enough to be able to do a simple spreadsheet. So I'm going to show you this. This is True Confessions. I have a lot of work in progress. I mean, when I say a lot, ooh, I didn't put the count down here, but I'll show you. Here's my little spreadsheet, and it does cover 2 pages. So there you have it. And what this does is it lists kind of the name of the project. They're not all up on Ravelry. I only put them on Ravelry when I get done. It's got the name of the project, and then I have a comment section. So the comment section tells me like where it is. Okay, was it some I haven't even cast on, but I bought yarn because I love the pattern, and so others I've cast it on, and I'm at a certain particular stage in their knitting process. So what I did was I have a box number next to each item, and I'm a visual person, so I have to see, like, I can't let my knitting that I'm not actively working on, they used to live in knitting bags, and out of sight, out of mind. So I needed a system where I could see them so I wouldn't be tempted to go out and buy too much more yarn. Not that I'm on a yarn fast, I'm not, but at any rate. So I got these plastic boxes, and this is box number 5. That probably shows you a little bit right now about how many whips I have if I've got 5 boxes, and there's 7, and there's a milk cart. So what is in each box is a 2-gallon plastic bag. And in each 2-gallon plastic bag is everything that whip needs. So all the yarn, although I have some very, very large whips, like this bathrobe that I've been working on that has a train to it, which I think I might have mentioned last time, that I thought the train would be good to get the dog hair off the floor. But anyway, so it's got like the pattern, and if it can fit all the yarn for it, it's got all the yarn in the bag. So I went through my spreadsheet, and we are going to be traveling soon for a month. We have an RV, so we're going to go south and camp down there. We live in upstate New York where it's cold and lots of snow. So we're going to go down there. We're both retired, and I have to figure out what knitting am I going to bring. So I've decided on 2 things right now. I have to finish my other sock, so that's definitely a go. But since I'm going to be in the warmer weather, I thought I'd work on sort of a warmer weather kind of project. So I started this probably 2 years ago during the pandemic. Fruity Knitting, my beloved Andrea on Fruity Knitting, did this pattern by Kim Hargreaves, and it is just spectacular. And she did it in, I think, like a bright orange. Or so I'm always tempted to knit the pattern in the same color as what the pattern's in. I'm one of those. But I decided to branch out, do something sort of feminine. So I started it, and I am using a Rowan Soft Yak DK in this pink. It's interesting pink. Like, I brought it off the internet, and let's see if I can show you. It's kind of, it's got some black flecks in it, which I did not expect. Although I do like the way it's knitting up. So this is what I have so far. And I'm showing you the correct side. So I'm just starting kind of the cabling. I did do a gauge swatch for this, which I still have. But now that I'm holding it out in front of you, it looks a little small. I guess I'm going to check it with the schematics. Lesson learned from the last time. Yeah. Because right now, if I have to take it out, I don't have any of the pain of having just done all this knitting. This was done probably 2 years ago. I don't know. So if I have to take it out and start over, it's not going to hurt so much because I did that so long ago. I don't remember doing it. But now that I'm looking at it, I think I better check on that size. But so I thought that, yeah, I'm folding it in half. It's like, is this for the front and the back? If it's just for the back, I'm okay. I think it is just for the back. Then I think I'm okay. Ugh. Anyway, you can tell I just got that out, so I'm not really familiar with what I need to do. But this is the yarn. And I think I printed off the pattern. I always make little cheat sheets for myself. So that's happening. I also use Knit Companion on my phone, which I really like because I never have to search for it or worry that I'm going to lose the paper. So I've got that. And then the other pattern I think I'm going to do is from this book, Magpies, Homebodies, and Nomads. And it's actually the cover sweater, which I think is really cool looking. The reason I didn't, it's interesting. I usually choose a pattern and then go look for yarn, or I never really do it the other way around. But in this case, I was in New Zealand with my husband. He was down there on business and I got to go. It's a long plane ride, but well worth it. Anyway, when I got down there, I wherever I go somewhere, I got to buy yarn. I mean, it's part of what we do, right? It's sort of like a souvenir for me. Here it is. Here's another picture. It's got the collar with it. There's a collar you can make. So anyway, I had trouble finding a yarn store, although there's sheep everywhere. But I did finally find a yarn store, and I bought some possum merino. Premium quality New Zealand made yarn, possum merino. And it's in the color, it's, 40% possum fur, 50% merino wool, and 10% silk. I mean, what a combination, right? I mean, possum fur, who knew? It's super cool, super soft, and it's in the color claret. Now, you can even see the halo. See the halo? It's like, it kind of comes out like you're holding mohair with it, and it's not. I'm pretty sure it's a fingering weight. I'm using size 6 needles. And this is the back. It's got a very long ribbing. And so this is where I left off. So you can see there's a lot of stock net. And again, I am going to measure this. I don't know if I could take this, frog this. I suppose I could if I had to. But it's kind of stretchy. I think the pattern does call for some negative ease. And there's a lot of twisted rib. Not my favorite thing to do. I avoid it like the plague. But this was the perfect yarn for this pattern. And I really couldn't find any other patterns that I really liked to go with this yarn. Now, the other interesting thing about this sweater, so I'm picking it because it's got a lot of stock net and a lot of mindless kind of knitting. And the other thing, it's going to be a learning for me because the front has these tabs. It's a very different construction, and I'm not even sure, but I remember reading about it and feeling somewhat intimidated, but I'm game. I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to learn something new because it's got these, as I said, tabs that kind of come down. I'll have to look at it, and I'm sure I'll talk more about it next time. But so this is what I've decided to take south. I'm going to take that pink sweater. I'm going to take this as sort of the mindless knitting sweater that I can do in other company. The pink sweater I think is going to take me a while I'm going to have to do that like for rides in the car. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. For those of you who have been following my blog, I usually write blogs during Lent as a Lenten discipline that are about spirituality and knitting and sort of the spiritual lessons that knitting can teach us. But this year, I think I'm just going to pick a piece of scripture and write a meditation for each day of Lent, or at least that's the goal. It's a lot of work to write 40 meditations. So if you're looking for knitting content, I think YouTube is where I'm going to do my knitting content. And I will keep you updated on everything I'm doing. I'm a slow knitter, so I don't have a lot of things that I finish probably in between YouTubes, but I have a lot of finished objects. So I will be certain to include those finished objects as we go. So anyway, it's been great. Thanks for watching, and we'll see how far I get with the pink sweater and the possum sweater and the second sock. Right now, I don't have second sock syndrome because it was a fun knit. I like doing the color work, and I want to make it so that I don't have to struggle to get the sock over my heel. So we'll see where that goes. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's Julie Sikora, the Contemplative Knitter.